Rest easy, Australia, for the wait is over. This is day one of the 15th Commonwealth Games, coming to you live and exclusively through Network 10. And this is Victoria, Canada. Not far on the map, not as the crow flies, yet somehow a world away from Vancouver, host city of the 1954 Games. 4 decades down the track, an empire, now a Commonwealth. And we're rolling back into British Columbia, back for 11 days of splash, sprint, and some old-fashioned silliness. Fun. These gifted young athletes, the Kieran Perkins, the Hayley Lewises, the Kathy Freemans, they congregate here not to learn about history, but to create it. Let them wait no longer. Today, the opening ceremony of the 15th Commonwealth Games. Good morning, Australia, and welcome to Victoria, Canada for the 15th Commonwealth Games. It's just after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and like the scene behind me, another postcard day. Brilliant sunshine, little or no humidity, and the finest athletes in the Commonwealth gathered before an international television audience tipped to hit 500 million people. For the next 10 days, Network 10 Australia will keep you on the pace with a coverage incorporating 160 hours. From Centennial Stadium, adjacent to us here at the International Broadcasting Centre, we welcome Anne Fullwood and Tim Webster. Tim, how does the atmosphere compare to that of, say, an Olympic Games or a football grand final?
Well, you can probably hear them, Bill. Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone at home. This crowd is really pumped up. They're practicing, I think. We've got the wave going and a lot of clapping and cheering. Look, I think, Billy, the difference is this is going to be a very peaceful, very harmonious and a spiritual thing once it gets underway, rather than a very aggressive one that you'd find at the MCG or the football stadium. Well, preparation, as usual, has been very secretive, but can you give us a clue just what to expect? No, I don't think we should do that, Bill. Anne and I saw the dress rehearsal yesterday, and there were a lot of gaps in it, as you'd expect. And we want everybody at home in Australia to see it along with us. We really didn't see the full show. But let me tell you, it's going to be a mosaic of Canada that you're going to see, all its peoples and all its history, and it's going to be just fantastic. And these guys here behind me, Annie, are gearing up to get into it.
Oh, my goodness. It's actually giving me a rush of emotion, much like I had yesterday, Tim, when I watched this preview of the opening ceremony. It is a spiritual and emotional moment. I think that's been the catch cry here in Victoria. It's an emotional city. They're full of spirit. They've been so happy to have the Commonwealth Games here in Victoria, Canada, and they've been waiting for this moment for so long. You can hear the excitement. It's palpable. It's actually made us all a bit nervous and uptight up here in the box. But Norman May, you're a man who's an expert. You've been to 9. It's an emotional and a happy time in this magnificent city, isn't it?
What a wonderful atmosphere. And this is a city gripped in games fever. Yes. And when you look at what we've seen around here, just like being in Australia, wonderful conditions. And what about the Australian team? Well, they're in great shape. You know, they finished off their final preparation with a typical Aussie barbecue, and that's the way to do it. They've received hundreds and hundreds of messages from back home, and they feel that they're representing the whole country. And over the next week and a half, you're going to see a feast of magnificent television entertainment. I believe the record must go. Australia has a wonderful team, 2 world record holders in swimming, 6 Olympic medalists beside the gold medal of Kieran Perkins, a great cycling team, everything. It's all there. I reckon they can win 70 gold medals. In my opinion, it will be a great games, but more importantly, a very great games for Australia.
You heard it from the expert, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Norman May. And as you saw on the screen a moment ago, that was the Australian team getting ready for the march around the Centennial Stadium here for the opening ceremony. And now I'd like to introduce you to a man who I don't think needs introduction, an international commentator who I'm sure we're all familiar with, Phil Liggett.
Thanks, Anne. Well, back in 1958 at the British Empire and Commonwealth Games in Cardiff, the Queen sent her message to the people of the Commonwealth in a baton, and it went via 664 long-distance relay athletes. Now, since then, the Queen's baton relay has become a tradition, and this year it all began in the courtyard of Buckingham Palace on March the 14th, where the Queen handed the silver baton to Michael Smith, the Canadian decathlete, and so started the long journey through 8 Commonwealth nations before the baton itself finally arrived in Canada. The baton is solid silver, designed by 3 artists from First Nations and engraved with the symbols of the frog, the raven, wolf and the young Thunderbird. And it completed its long journey here in Victoria this morning after travelling almost 100,000 kilometres. Today, the Queen will read that message here in Centennial Stadium. And I can promise you that will be one of the many highlights here in what is often a very highly charged and emotional opening ceremony, as you'll find out with us after this break.
Entering the stadium, escorted by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and riders from Vancouver Island Pony Clubs, the officers of the Commonwealth Games Federation. Accompagnés de la Gendarmerie Royale du Canada et des clubs équestres de l'île de Vancouver, voici les officiers de la Fédération des Jeux du Commonwealth. Mr. Charles Rao, Honorary Legal Advisor, Conseiller Juridique Honoraire. Dr. Jeffrey Haig, Honorary Medical Advisor, Conseiller Médical Honoraire. H.E. Austin Seeley, Honorary Treasurer, Trésorier Honoraire. Honorable Charles Ed Mukora, Vice Chairman. David Dixon, Honorary Secretary, Secrétaire Honoraire. Michael S. Fennell, Vice Chairman, Vice-Directeur.
Proud moment, of course, for all these people. The Commonwealth Games finally coming to fruition after a lot of planning.
Mr. Barry Nye, President of the Commonwealth Games Association of Canada, Président de l'Association des Jeux du Commonwealth du Canada. Arnaldo de Osales, Chairman of the Commonwealth Games Federation, Directeur de la Fédération des Jeux du Commonwealth. And His Royal Highness, the Prince Edward, Son Altesse Royale, le Prince Edward, Président de la Fédération des Jeux du Commonwealth, President of the Commonwealth Games Federation.
It is quite a beautiful scene, isn't it, Tim?
Absolutely
It
magnificent.
makes me think of England.
Yes, Prince Edward got a great cheer from the crowd. There he is.
They love them here. When the Queen arrived earlier in the week, they were very excited. There were thousands of people who turned out in Victoria to see her, welcome her and Prince Philip to the island home.
And what about these guys? That is a postcard of Canada, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. You'll see more of them in just a moment. And those carriages, although a little less ornate, Annie, you can ride around the streets of Victoria being pulled by a beautiful Clydesdale. It really is just a lovely place.
Indeed. The carriages, actually, a little bit of trivia here, are called vis-a-vis, which means face-to-face, I understand.
That's right. You can look at each other as you clop around.
They could not couldn't be happier with this day. It is a sparkling Victoria day.
Yeah, I'd say, folks, back home, it's probably in the mid-20s. There's a lovely breeze blowing off these magnificent mountains behind us. And all the kids look great. The choir down the end there in the stadium, all dressed in white. It truly is a magnificent scene, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are, because I've got a little heart palpitation going here because the expectation, I think that's the reason for that.
I don't know how Norman May feels. He's been to 9. This is my first, and I must say that it is really a splendid occasion. It is quite spectacular.
Norman's got a big smile on his face down there, sitting next to Phil Liggett, and he's enjoying it as well.
You'll note on the oval too the shapes of the flowers as we pass over that scene. That is because Victoria, Vancouver Island, is a garden island. Victoria is the garden city, so flowers make up a lot of the theme of this opening ceremony. And the young children are the petal kids carrying all those shapes.
You can see the pony club kids there too, along with the mounties. There's a couple of horses playing up, but not as much as one did yesterday. It actually reared backwards on one of the kids.
Yes.
But they're having a very proud moment, taking part in this ceremony with the mounties. The mounties on the middle of the field there. Can't quite see them yet, but must be a very fine moment indeed for those young people. And you're about to see the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in their musical ride. You enjoy it with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police musical ride. Mesdames et messieurs, le carrousel musical de la Gendarmerie Royale du Canada.
Now, we can't quite figure out why the push bike song is being played for this, but I guess it goes. The origin of the musical ride is not known really, but its first recorded performance was in nearby Regina under Inspector W.G. Matthews way back in 1887, and not until 1904 did this magnificent display of horsemanship go public.
I think they're doing this for Phil Liggett, myself, the cycling song. What do you think?
Yes, especially for Phil.
He has more influence than we thought. A decade ago, women were finally granted a little place in this musical ride. There are 12 women in this contingent today.
And this is horsemanship at its best, let me tell you. These are the descendants of the quarter horse that we know very well in Australia, named for their speed and their zip over the standing quarter mile. And these ones, I should tell you, are specially bred for the musical ride at the Mounties Remount Detachment in Pakenham in Ontario. All are distinguished by a maple leaf pattern, which is embossed on their rump. I don't know whether we'll be able to see that, but if you see them up close, you can see it, and they look just great. Now, this may look pretty easy to you folks, but I know, and all the equestrians back home know too, it's not. They're very gifted riders indeed, control the mounts with their legs, barely touching the reins at all. Simple pressure of the lower leg, no matter its noble bloodlines. To do this kind of thing overnight is just not possible. None of these horses is young. The youngest of them 6, and the oldest is a fellow called Lucky, who's rising 23. But today, and we don't know which one he is, he's bounding along like a spring foal. They look great.
It is a spectacular dressage-style performance, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, as some of you may know, were originally introduced to cut off the whiskey runners who were coming in from the deep south. But they also had to protect not just the new settlers to Vancouver Island and Canada, but the people of the First Nations as well. And right from the very beginning, of course, the prerequisite for recruitment was fine horsemanship, and certainly, as you can see here today, that is continuing.
You won't see any finer. Look at that. When I said simple dressage, I suppose in terms of the dressage test you'd see at Olympic Games, it's simple.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, having tried to have a horse do any number of these maneuvers, it ain't simple.
I'll take your word for it, Tim. And then to do it in unison, as these are, all of them, it's worth a gold medal.
But then again, these are the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. You'd expect it of them. And they're getting a big hand from the crowd as well. Fantastic. They should.
think we're riding along to Canada. I think it's a happy song, the push bike song. I'm sure that's why it's been chosen. And why not indeed?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's good. Makes me feel good.
Yeah, it does. I think everybody in this
Jaunty,
audience feels good today, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that terrific? Look at that.
Does it make you feel like getting down there and getting on one of those horses?
Absolutely, I'd love it. I'd just love it.
That's your
Because
scene?
having ridden quarter horses myself, I know how terrific they are. They've just got the best temperament. And as I say, you control them really with just a little bit of pressure on the legs. Look at that.
The crowd loves it.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, nous allons maintenant hisser les drapeaux de la Nouvelle-Zélande, du Canada et de la Malaisie. Please direct your attention to the north end of the stadium for the raising of the flags of the previous host country, New Zealand, the flag of Canada, and the flag of Malaysia, host country for the 1998 Commonwealth Games.
As the flags go up right now, though, we're in Victoria, Canada for the 15th Games, just gearing up for a showcase. 10 days, fun, friendliness, and for some, fame.
Welcome back to the Centennial Stadium here in Victoria, British Columbia. This is the Commonwealth Games. And in keeping with a deeply entrenched tradition of welcoming guests to their celebration, we present you a Coast Salish.
Represents one of the traditional methods by which the visiting nations are greeted to the lands of the Coast Salish people. And it reflects the wisdom, the purity and strength of at least 20 generations of community interaction.
Represented here today are Vancouver Island's 3 First Nations, the Coast Salish, the Nuuchnuuth and the Quagluth in full ceremonial regalia today. The Coast Salish are in the black or the red regalia with woolen headdresses. Small wooden paddles that they carry, as you may see, indicate a warrior spirit. The Nuuchnuuth delegation are wearing cedar bark capes. They wear skirts and hats with fringed, trimmed shawls and designs of orca whales. And as you well know, there are plenty of them around Victoria. And with the Quagluth delegation, hereditary clan symbols are woven into the back of their blankets. The Coast Salish singers carry drums depicting a Cowichan Thunderbird based on a 1913 design.
Yes, already we have a tremendous feel for this country of Canada, being a land with little history of hatred, no persecution here, no genocide, and the first British company to set up base. The Hudson Bay, you'll remember them, who traded in furs, set the trend with the sign that hung over the front door, simply read, "Don't shoot the customers."
And as I look at those headdresses there, Tim, I'm just thinking with our rich spring racing carnival coming up, there might be some inspiration for some fashion designer or
Sure,
fashions
why
in the
not?
field, perhaps, from this headdress. The headdresses worn by these Coast Salish youth were made by Stephen Sampson from the Chemainus tribe, which is one of the well-known tribes here, and Grace Horn of the Saanich tribe. And it's an 80-year-old design, so it has a long tradition. And in First Nations beliefs, which is the theme really of this opening ceremony today, transformation is an ongoing process. There's a young baby there in a mother's arms. It represents the movement from one state of mind and being to another. And during their respective sacred seasons, activities such as songs and cleansing and public speaking have been passed down over 20 generations of ritual use.
Now, I can't stress enough to you back home, this marks the first time in history the Coast Salish have invited the other Vancouver Island First Nations to stand with them. Chief Adam Dick.
In the words of Siem Arnold Sylvester, we have welcomed you through personal songs and regalia as a reflection of our length of time here. We are more than pleased to welcome you in this way as a reflection of our respect for each other's heritage. Our ancestors have always taught us to make our minds strong. We have done so to welcome you here today. This is the time for transformation and change. This is a time of renewed, powerful, and respectful relations between others and between the natural and supernatural. It is with great spirit pride I stand before you today, speaking on behalf of the Coast Salish peoples. We welcome the Nuu-chah-nulth of the West Coast, the Kwakiutl of the northeast of Vancouver Island, British Columbia, and each and every one of you to this, our traditional territory. A very important part of any great deed such as this, our people acknowledge and invite individual dignitaries to witness the events taking place. We would like to call upon His Excellency, the Right Honorable Raymond J. Natition, Governor General of Canada, Gouverneur Général du Canada. The Right Honorable Jean Chrétien, Prime Minister of Canada, Premier Ministre du Canada. The Honorable David Lunn, Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, Lieutenant-Gouverneur de la Colombie-Britannique. The Honorable Mike Harcourt, Premier of British Columbia, Premier Ministre de la Colombie-Britannique. Chief William Hunt of the Kwakiutl Nation, de la Nation Kwakiutl. Chief Ambrose McQuinna of the Nuu-chah-nulth Nation, de la Nation Nuu-chah-nulth. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II and His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez accueillir Sa Majesté la Reine Elisabeth II et Son Altesse Royale, le Duc d'Edinburgh.
And isn't this a special moment for the people of Canada, Tim? They came out, as I said, in force in Victoria when the Queen arrived earlier in the week. But it's a country that has fought so hard and successfully to remain a part of the Commonwealth, fending off the political and social approaches of the southern neighbour, the US of America, and that's one tough thing to fight off.
Yeah, they're a big one to fight, aren't they?
Now, this little short travail around Centennial Stadium will hardly worry Her Majesty's car. It's quite a spectacular machine, isn't it, Tim?
Magnificent.
It's a 1939 McLaughlin Buick convertible with, wait for it, I don't know whether your car's done this many, but this has done 350,000 kilometres.
Looks like it hasn't travelled 1K. What a beautiful machine, yes.
Factory fresh, doesn't it? It is one of 2 cars commissioned in 1939 by General Motors for a royal tour of Canada by King George VI and Queen Elizabeth I. And then the car was used again when the Prince and Princess of Wales visited Expo 86 in Vancouver.
Beautiful. What a magnificent
Isn't it wonderful?
There she is.
And doesn't Queen Elizabeth look magnificent in this
As
fine
always,
Victorian day? Yes. Now, 2 gifts await her when she arrives in front of the dignitaries. She's going to receive a carved miniature traditional welcome figure in much the same way as the other dignitaries did a moment ago. It will represent a talisman of peace and harmony, and also a seating blanket, just to make sure she's quite comfortable. And they're both from the Coast Salish Nation.
Look at that motor car. Queen Elizabeth looking just terrific. And obviously enjoying being here. Why wouldn't you?
Where else would she want to be on a day like today?
Absolutely.
I'd say it's probably raining and cool in London.
I'd say that's a definite. Well, amongst the dignitaries, of course, is her son, His Royal Highness Prince Edward. Presenters of gifts are Chief Philomena Alphonse, an elected chief from the Coast Salish Nation.
Her Majesty are Audrey Sampson and Chief Philomena Alphonse. Audrey Sampson et la chef Philomena Alphonse offrent un présent à Sa Majesté.
You know, more than anyone else, it was Her Majesty who saved the 1986 Games in Edinburgh, in Scotland, when everything seemed to be falling apart around her, from the financing of newspaper tycoon Robert Maxwell right on through. It was Her Majesty who worked hardest. I remember it well. Fronted almost every function, day and night, shaking 1,000,001 hands. We all got sore necks just watching all of the people bow and curtsy in those days. There are 34,500 people packed into this stadium, preparing for a very special insight into, I assure you, a very special people. The dignitaries have arrived on this day where no one could possibly be indignant. And at home in Australia, you're about to see the coming together of all of the peoples of this great nation of Canada, their transformation and continuation into the years to come.
Representing Maritime Forces Pacific, our governor, from Her Majesty's relationship, accompanied by
Welcome back. Here we are at the 15th Commonwealth Games, and we're in Centennial Stadium watching the Maritime Forces Pacific Command, the Honour Guard, accompanied by the Air Command Band. Now, the Honour Guard's made up of 100 members of the crew of the HMCS Provider, including men and women from 3 elements of the Canadian Forces. They're commanded by Lieutenant Commander Charles M. Matt. Very big day for him.
Yes, very big day for all of them. Formed in the 1940s, 44 members, and they're stationed at Winnipeg in Manitoba. They perform around the world, of course, and are familiar to many of you, I'm sure. I've seen them before. I can't quite remember where, but I know I have.
Well, the crowd loves them.
Ladies and gentlemen, the contrast you're about to see today to set the stage for the ceremony feature the big house to be performed by the Coast Salish, and the contrasts are, believe me, extreme. From the Canadian Mounties to the First Nations, from Her Majesty, of course, to to the hooded local chiefs and their drums, the distinguished naval officers leading their big bands, it truly is a blend of time and times, of leaders and the faithful, those prepared to follow.
Right guard! Rear rank! Steady! Left guard! Rear rank! Steady!
Something quite dignified about military performance, isn't there?
Certainly is, yeah. And these guys
Ladies
are
and
well
gentlemen,
drilled.
please stand for the royal salute. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez vous lever pour le salut royal.
Royal salute! Present! Earth!
Now the Lieutenant Commander will ask Queen Elizabeth to inspect his guard.
Which, of course, is something Her Royal Highness has done on how many countless occasions can you just imagine?
She's chosen today a rather stunning pastel number.
Beautiful hat.
Florin, and the broad-brimmed hat that she so favours in these sorts of climates and conditions. I think that she probably doesn't allow that beautiful English skin to get in the sun too often, like some of us in Australia are used to doing.
Yes.
So she has chosen well, I think, today.
Yes, it's a warm day, although there is a nice breeze blowing. It's probably a little cooler up where we are. We are, believe me, a long way above the stadium, but it's probably a little warm down there in the bowl.
Actually, for royal fashion watchers, when Queen Elizabeth arrived in Victoria the other day, Norman May tells me, I seem to have missed her. I think there were too many people, but Norman May tells me quite faithfully that she was in a rather spectacular lime green dress when she arrived on the docks of Victoria in the inner harbour. And a stunning colour that must have been. She would have stood out in the crowd there as she visited the Houses of Parliament and then hopped into a seaplane to fly off to a little retreat here in one of the many islands in the Straits of Georgia.
Speaking of seaplanes, all eyes will soon be skyward in both respect and recognition of the, what I think, you heard it yesterday, is the truly magnificent national anthem of O Canada, one of the more stirring, and the flying snowbirds you'll see. I'll tell you too much more about them because it might spoil the surprise, but...
Actually, the Queen, on an occasion like this, hasn't stopped to talk with troops, but then perhaps one doesn't on such a ceremonial occasion as this. She's got a happy smile here today. She's a long way from home and some of the troubles that have been surrounding the royal family over 1994. I think this is probably a welcome change.
By any standards, she had a bad year. I'm sure in her quietest moments she'd agree with us.
And we know that she is a great supporter and a great lover of her Commonwealth Games.
She is indeed.
and gentlemen, please remain standing for the singing of our national anthem. Mesdames et messieurs, l'hymne national du Canada.
The next blockbuster.
Now, what we are watching here is a demonstration of the demonstration sport for the Commonwealth Games. However, this is not quite how you play lacrosse, field lacrosse. It is a chosen sport of lots of young Canadians. It's called Bagataway, which means little brother of war, or it's called lacrosse, and it was first played by the Aboriginal peoples of Canada as part of a ceremonial religious rite. It's the oldest known athletic game played in North America, would you believe? Fittingly, it's Canada's national sport, but you'd probably have plenty of argument about that, because for a lot of people would argue that ice hockey is certainly the most popular in Canada. Now, this is not something to be bewildered by. There is going to be a short game of lacrosse here in a moment, but this is rather more choreographed for the effect, as you can see, with the suitable sound effects of the throwing and catching as well, you can probably hear. Sounds like a good volley in tennis, too.
It does. These kids are doing a beautiful job, aren't they? Beautiful job. You know, the original equipment used was a wooden lacrosse stick resembling a bishop's crozier, hence the word lacrosse, or of the cross. And native lacrosse was a brutal, very serious sport, Annie, played on a very large scale. In larger games, the playing field had no boundaries at all, and the players sometimes covered an area up to 20 kilometres. And I'm told, not officially I should say, but quite dramatically, that balls were not always used. In the very early days, it was apparently skulls that they passed around with their
But we aren't using
sticks.
them today. Here are the demonstration games. I had friends who played this, and I used to think they were very brave, because that ball flies fast and head high.
Let me tell you, I've actually tried to play the horseback version of polo cross, and it's almost impossible.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, they've choreographed these games, as you can probably see, and they've timed the goals on cue, which I'm sure some of the people who play this game would like. Time your goals on cue.
Yes, as you can see, it's a combination of many sports, isn't it, really, when you think about it?
Well, yes,
hockey,
the way it is.
Gaelic football, they're all sort of intertwined.
Sure. And I also
highly
note
skillful.
with interest, Tim, that why is it that the women aren't wearing protection and the men are? It's interesting. I think probably because the men's game is very much more physical.
In the interest of being politically correct, I'm not going to answer that. Yeah, I guess the guys throw it a bit harder, I guess, what the reason for that.
All right, I'll give you that one. The women's game also doesn't have preset boundaries, apparently. The two captains and the referee decide where out will be at the beginning of each game, depending on the surroundings in which the field is set. As you can imagine, each goal counts for 1 point, 1 goal. Yep. I think that's pretty logical. I thought in Australia, when my friends used to play it, they were actually within a field and they played it almost on an oval the size of a field of the size of a soccer field. I'm sure that's probably the case.
Let me tell you, you'd have to be incredibly fit to play this.
And have very good reflexes.
Yeah, very fast-moving game. And look, they're all getting in each other's way here. You get a whack around the ear with a stick occasionally. Oh, a flick over the shoulder. Did we see him? Was I watching television then? There was a great goal scored.
Give us the replay.
Yeah.
You might see a goal here. There we are. That was your demonstration.
All right, now, for the mums and dads, the friends and the fans back home, the athletes very shortly are about to hit Centennial Stadium for the first of these 10 days of competition. All of the competing nations will be introduced to you by our expert commentators Norman May and Phil Liggett when they get out here. But at the moment, you're seeing the end of this choreographed version of Lacrosse. These wonderful young Canadian people looking just absolutely fantastic.
Isn't it a thrill for them? Look at them, they're so happy. They've spent days, weeks, months.
Yes, this isn't a big stadium by any means, only 35,000. But it's got a great atmosphere, and I can't wait to see the athletes in here.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see our people, Kathy Freeman and Mel Gainsford, Damien Marsh.
Yes.
I can't wait to see them around this track.
It is, in a way, it's nicer in a way that it's smaller. It feels more intimate. It feels warmer.
Indeed. Yeah, it does indeed.
You feel a bit closer. There's a lovely sense of community here this afternoon.
All right, away they go. The young Petal kids are off the field for the time being, because now is the time when all of the young people, and some of them not so young, who are competing for their countries right around the Commonwealth, get to come in here and enjoy one of the great moments in sport. The athletes are about to come out, so it's probably timely if we hand you over to Norman May and Phil Liggett.
Thank you very much, and here we are waiting on this great occasion for the arrival of the team. 64 out of a possible 67 are going to march. There are 51 members of the British Commonwealth, or the Commonwealth they call it these days. That breaks down to 67 for these games.
15e Jeux du Commonwealth, accompagnés des officiers cadets du Collège militaire Royal Roads. The athletes of the 15th Commonwealth Games, accompanied by the officer cadets of Royal Roads Military College.
And the honour of leading this parade goes to New Zealand, the host country for last games in 1990 when it was Auckland. And with me is the celebrated international cycling commentator Phil Liggett. And Phil, it appears that a cyclist plays a key role in this New Zealand team.
Well, they do indeed, Norman. In fact, they'll be led out. The flag bearer will be Brian Fowler, 31 years of age, and a cyclist, and in fact a winner of a gold and 3 silver medals in previous games. But a very emotional moment for him, I think, because he'll remember 4 years back when his father died so tragically during those games in Auckland. His father, a great sort of supporter of cycling, was cleaning a cycling velodrome nowhere near the facilities of the games. A race started and he was struck and killed, and Brian had to come out next day and go for gold in a road race. He took silver. The man that beat him, his own teammate Graham Miller, and they're both back now.
And there he is, and as the New Zealand team comes round, you'll be interested now. In Australia, there was controversy in New Zealand about the team uniforms.
There were, you know, and they almost voted to actually drop the famous gold leaf on the black and blue strip here, black and white strip. And you know, Norman, I'm glad they didn't, because everybody knows this team as the All Blacks, and it wouldn't be the same to see them without that uniform.
Well, over in New Zealand, they were so emotional about it, there was almost a revolution over there, and they would not change from the black and the silver fern. Those are the official colours of New Zealand. They said no to blue and green. Now the Australian team comes out number 3 on the parade. After New Zealand, we have, in alphabetical order, Antigua, then Australia, and you can judge these uniforms for the first time on television for yourself. Now, the New Zealand team will go right round the arena. They'll be introduced at the top of the straight just as they come down before Her Majesty the Queen. There are 134 of them in competitors. Great chances include Daniel Loader, the brilliant freestyle and butterfly swimmer, and also Anna Simchik, who won in backstroke 4 years ago in Auckland, and a very great cyclist. You'll know him, Phil, Gary Anderson.
Indeed, 8 medals in previous Commonwealth Games. And also the first nation to ever parade in any Commonwealth Games with disabled athletes as part of their party.
Now, the parade leaders are just reaching the southern end of the arena. They come around there. It's a fairly sharp turn around there, and then down the straight, and high pictures from the blimp up there in the clouds. And also we have a marvellous camera, which is remote controlled, was taking shots looking down on every aspect of this opening ceremony.
And that's true, Norman. That's called a sky camera. And when we get down to the arena for the track and field events, we are going to see some sensational pictures out of that camera. You can computerize it, and it knows exactly where to go all by itself. Very shortly, Norman, they won't need commentators in this job.
No, they won't. Anyway, the New Zealand team about halfway around the track. Now, as was said in Auckland in 1950, or 1990 rather, I'm going back to the first Auckland Games. I'm getting a bit old for this sort of stuff. But they don't go and stay on the arena. They're going to march around and occupy some seating in front of the scoreboard, and that leaves the whole arena clear for the great show which is going to come later on. And very soon now you're going to hear the official introduction for the New Zealand team. The Australian team, we can see them already over on the far side of the ground. And as far as I'm concerned, from this distance, Phil, they look great.
I think they look very, very appealing. And we'll catch up with those very shortly, Norman. I think you'll all be very surprised at home.
Now, notice here, the New Zealand standard bearer, that standard, or the name bearer, is the image of the white dove of peace. And that's with all of the carriers, they have that, and it's a very effective signal, isn't it?
So New Zealand, who put up such a marvellous occasion in Auckland, it really was a most pleasant Commonwealth Games. The Canadians knew then they had to do something very special to beat the pomp and occasion over there in New Zealand, and the Kiwis came out and actually put up a tremendous performance athletically as well, not least the cyclists, I have to say.
Now let's see if we can pick up the official announcement. It's coming very soon. They mightn't do that, but they will do it for the remainder of the teams. They're in the running straight now. About another 50 or 60 metres, they come past the royal dais, where Her Majesty the Queen is waiting to receive, and no doubt a way for all members of all teams, repeating 64 countries are represented here out of a possible 67. The British Commonwealth started off in 1931 with just a handful, and it's been joined year by year. And then a few years ago we had Namibia become the last country to become part of the Commonwealth, and then the re-entry of South Africa. And what sort of a welcome is South Africa going to get?
I think that'll be a very, very emotional entry when South Africa come into this stadium. Antigua and Barbuda. Their flag being carried by Heather Samuel. And there she is. What a pretty picture she makes as well.
Only 9 in the team, including the one woman, that is Heather Samuel, the 200-metre runner. And here's Australia. The Australian team, headed by Ian Hale, the flag bearer. He's 43 years old, a skeet shooter. You'll get a close-up of him soon, and he's competing in his 5th Games. And behind the standard bearer, we have, there's Ian. It's a wonderful moment for him. 5 Commonwealth Games. That's an amazing performance.
It's tremendous, and what a great character he is as well.
And also out there is Marjorie Jackson, the Lithgow Flash, the general manager of the team. Now, here's your chance. There she is. There's Marge. 7 Commonwealth medals, 2 Olympic gold medals, the greatest athlete we've ever seen. And here's a flashback to see her in action in Auckland in 1950. She's on this side, and away she goes. That's Marjorie Jackson, and she beats Shirley Strickland, and that's a gold medal to Australia. So Marjorie Jackson comes back after 40 years, where she retired in Vancouver in 1954 at the age of 22. And has she done a marvellous job? I can tell you she has, Phil.
Well, she looks tremendously fit now. She looks she could take on some of these athletes right now, Norman.
Do you reckon she'll make the end of the straight without a tear or two?
I've absolutely no doubt at all that she'll make the end of the straight, but I'm not too sure about the tear or two. It must be a really happy but emotional occasion for her today.
All right, those of you in Australia, here are the uniforms. These are the women. That's what they're wearing. There is no indication of green and gold. The men behind them, you'll see they're coming through in a black blazer. The women's team extremely enthusiastic, and I'm delighted to say that in the front of the parade of those women, they're like wheelchair athletes are there for Australia. Now, here are the men. That is the uniform, the dark blazer with the light slacks. It looks very, very effective as far as we can see. You'll be better judges of this at home watching on television, because so many things are made these days specifically for television, and that is the Australian uniform.
230, 143 men, 87 women. They're hoping to beat their best ever tally of more than 50 goals, 52 gold medals, and I think they'll do that this year.
Now, the baton is coming out. I just might mention from the Australians that Kieran Perkins is not marching. They're competing in the first day of competition. Hayley Lewis is not there. Susie O'Neill and Phil Rogers, and also Kathy Watt. And once again, we see the Australians coming down, and Marjorie Jackson, isn't she getting a wonderful reception from this crowd?
Well, the Australians, I'm sure, are hoping to excel in the cycling, where they could win all of the medals. So, as the Australians complete their circuit here in Centennial Stadium, the rest of the nations are still to come. We'll take a break.
And welcome back to the Centennial Stadium, the opening ceremony of the 15th Commonwealth Games, as we hear the announcement for Botswana, the team of 35, the first of the African countries we're going to see. And the interesting point about them is in the 35 there are 11 women. Does that mean the emancipation of women in the African countries?
Well, it's not a bad guide bearer, and I've got to say, Norman, you will have to help me out in pronouncing the flag bearer's name here.
Well, there are about 14 letters in his surname, but I can say Madupi, the 26-year-old light middleweight boxer, he was the flag bearer. And it's very good to see this. Botswana, of course, have been in several games before this. Now, the British Virgin Islands, we're going right across from Africa to the Caribbean, the group of 60 islands, their second Commonwealth Games only, 7 men. Kelda Klein's the standard bearer, long and triple jumper. He goes to an American university, as so many of them do.
Indeed, in British Virgin Islands, they all speak English, and there are only 7 men in this team. All of them are men. And the flag bearer is Peter Clean, 19 years of age.
And Brunei, this is the home of the richest man in the world. The Sultan is home with his hand in the till, Phil. He's got his hand in the till. He won't be here, but his brother is. That's Prince Haji, and he's going to compete in shooting. So, Southeast Asia, of course, and they're going very quickly. The Cayman Islands, we're talking about money. That's the banking island, where they all go and put their money in banks over there. Only 11 competitors, 7 cyclists, and 4 boxers.
Well, 11 of them, again, all men. And the flag bearer is Perry Merrin, one of the 7 cyclists, indeed one of 4 cyclists who will carry the flag for his various nations today. There are 10 boxers, the vast majority, of course, coming from track and field.
It seems the favourite style of dress here, Phil, is the blazer for the men and the light trousers, but 14 competitors in the Pacific, the Cook Islands. Now, one of the men here, Dam Kamana, is a former cabinet minister, and he's aged 68. He is the oldest competitor in these games.
Well, I'll vouch for that.
And there he is.
And proudly carries the flag. Member of the bowls team, and of course the bowls will have a very high profile here.
Now, Cyprus, I'm sure anybody who saw the games before in Auckland will never forget the man from Cyprus winning the triple jump. And he's here today, he's carrying the flag. He's got a fairly long name too, Hadji Andrew, I think it is, the triple jump from Auckland. And there he is, another one, a gold medalist for Cyprus. And that was one of the great wins of the whole games 4.5 years ago in Auckland.
The only gold medal they've won so far. And he only decided, you know, Norman, to compete in the Auckland Games just 2 days before that event began, because he had, actually, I remember having an Achilles tendon injury.
6 only from Dominica. The flag bearer is Cedric Harris over the 800 metres. And behind them you see a flash of the red and white of England. And up goes the pulse of Phil Liggett.
Oh, 2 women, and of the team here from Dominica, their 5th Commonwealth Games. They've yet to win a medal. Well, you've got to start somewhere, and let's hope it's this time out.
England. And the announcement of the huge team from England, 258 competitors. The second biggest team here, 157 men, 101 women. And it's remarkable, this contest between England and Australia in these games. Well, when they were first held in 1930, it was England 25 gold medals, Australia 3. Now the score stands at England 421, right. Australia 396, a difference of only 25. So for 13 games, Phil, the difference between the 2 countries has been 3 gold medals. That's as good as the Ashes.
Well, you know, it might swing home to Australia this year. They could top the all-time league table, as it were. But I have to say that the new uniforms here from England are very, very attractive indeed. George and the Dragon design with cream trousers. Everybody seems to have had ideas on changing how they appear at the Commonwealth Games this time around. The flag bearer is Neil Thomas, the gymnast, who has turned out to be one of our very, very best ever. Silver medals in the floor exercises at the World Championships, and hopeful now of getting a Commonwealth Games gold.
Now, we mentioned before that the 51 members of the British Commonwealth, or the Commonwealth as it really is called now, break down as far as the United Kingdom is concerned to England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, the Channel Islands, the Isle of Man, and that way we get up to 67 countries. For example, Norfolk Island is not Australia. It is coming on its own to compete in these games. And it's going to be very interesting to see the team from Falkland Islands coming in behind England from one end of the world to the other, and of course from one of the biggest teams to one of the smallest, and Her Majesty the Queen just looking at England filing past.
She's delighted as England walk before her. And of course we'll be delighted when we see the great athletes like Linford Christie and Sally Gunnell in action in this stadium.
England's team occupying the whole length of this running straight, on this, the back straight of course over on this side, and they're moving through the men. And here's the Falkland Islands, as we mentioned. First Commonwealth Games in Brisbane 1982. Flag bearer there is Susan Whitley, not surprisingly a shooter in the full bore rifle competition. And of course she probably learnt that some years ago in the Falkland Island War. So there it is from the Commonwealth Games here, the opening ceremony.
Smallest population. So Norman, let's take another break before the rest of the teams come on.
Back at the Centennial Stadium, we're halfway through the teams, and we see Guyana coming in, one of the Caribbean countries. The flag bearer is the boxer, Gary Sinclair. 10 games they've been. Actually, they competed in the first games way back in 1930 in Hamilton, Ontario, and they've competed in 10 games throughout. I presume the problem may have been financial, but they've been one of the instigators of these games, and they've been in it for a long time.
And Terence Poole, the super heavyweight boxer, is carrying Guyana's flag. And what a happy team they look. Gary Sinclair, the bantamweight boxer, I suspect is the best chance of a medal, just 20 years of age.
And now what is going to be a really nostalgic moment for many people in the Commonwealth movement. The signal that Hong Kong is joining the parade for the very last time.
Yes.
In 1997, Hong Kong will be ceded back to China. They can compete in the future in the Olympic Games, but this will be their last Commonwealth Games. 53 of them, 28 men, 25 women, and the standard bearer is Chi Choi Chan, a gold in badminton in 1990.
That's right, in the mixed doubles in Auckland, and now a national coach of that sport. This time around, the medal chances, well, I think Mark Mahon, the silver medalist in the men's individual bowls in Auckland, will have a really great chance, and also Gilbert Yu in the pistol shooting.
So from Hong Kong to India, the largest population of all the Commonwealth, around about 850 million of them, and the population of India increases annually by about 17,500, and that's the total population of Australia. That standard bearer, there's a team of 40 here. They do very well in lightweight, weightlifting. Sharma is their standard bearer. In fact, in the light divisions in lightweight, say weightlifting or wrestling and things like that, they do very well.
And other chances, perhaps, Norm. 41-year-old Ashok Pandit in the men's centre-fire pistol. He's the defending champion from Auckland, but he can expect one of his rivals to be his own teammate, Jaspal Rana, just 18. Let's go to the Isle of Man, this small little island about 50 miles off the northwest coast of England.
Can you remember 1966, Phil? one of the most exciting things I think I've ever seen in the Commonwealth Games when a cyclist called Peter Buckley won the road race.
I used to race alongside him, and sadly Peter died in a very bizarre accident when a dog ran in the road some months later, and he was killed in a crash. But you know, Peter Buckley still remains the Isle of Man's only gold medalist, and we could have another one if things break well this weekend. Marie Purvis represents the Isle of Man. She can turn a very fast wheel in the women's event. Let's go to Jamaica.
The island in the sun, hosted the Commonwealth Games in 1966 in their traditional yellowy gold uniforms. 59 of them, 38 men, 20 women. John Mayer, a sprinter, is the standard bearer, but Merlin Ottey, their great sprinter, is not competing.
Well, John Mayer himself can run a 10.18 for the 100 metres. A little bit slower perhaps than Linford Christie, but not by very much.
But the most famous athlete, I would believe, of all the years down Jamaica would be Don Quarry. A wonderful man, won the sprint 3 times, and back to the Channel Islands to Jersey. As I said, Jersey and Guernsey complete separately. Colin Mallet is the flag bearer here, the shooting gold medalist from Auckland, and it is the only one from Jersey ever to win a gold medal.
Absolutely, and Colin's father Clifford, well, he finished 6th in that very same event, so I guess he had to buy the champagne that night.
18 from Jersey, 12 men and 6 women. And I think a feature of the parade so far, Phil, is the increase in the number of women competitors.
Yes. So the athletes, as they go around the stadium, then will file into their allotted seats to keep the arena clear. As we move on to Kenya, a total of 93 medals they've won in 6 Commonwealth Games, and not surprisingly, because they're so good at it, 61 have come in athletics and the rest all in boxing.
Yes, 80 of them here, but one surprising thing, many of their champion runners didn't get back home to Nairobi in time for their titles to get selected for this team, and there are several very promising youngsters.
The flag bearer, Barnabas Kinyor, 400 metres hurdler in his 2nd Commonwealth Games. He's now 33, a civil servant, and enjoys watching football as well.
And we might mention the 6 functional races, the athletes on wheelchairs. There will be 2 of them in swimming, a couple in bowls, I think a couple in athletics, including a wheelchair race, which is very, very interesting. And I think they add a new dimension to the Games.
They're taking part in the very, very theme of these friendly games, compete in everything.
Lesotho.
Now, how do we say this, Phil? I'm never quite sure.
Lesotho, it's surrounded wholly by South Africa, a country over these last couple of years that I've come to know very well, and now it's marvellous to see these countries marching here today. Competed in 4 Commonwealth Games, Lesotho. They were not involved with the controversy that surrounded the country that surrounds it, and they've yet to win a medal.
There are only 10 competitors there, and I can count a lot more than 10 there. The old story, you have many officials that you can get here to come see the games, and there's something there.
Malawi.
On to Malawi.
Now, Malawi is another landlocked African state.
It is, East African state indeed, and they've been here ever since 1970. 7 competitors, all men. Flag bearer here, John Mathwia, a marathon runner. The only member of the team, by the way, has previously been to a Commonwealth Games, so he can tell the rest how to do it. And they'll participate in 3 sports: shooting, boxing, and athletics.
I think it's appropriate we complete this group of countries to the host for the next Games in 1998. Kuala Lumpur, the country of Malaysia, 51, their largest ever team, 37 men, 14 women. And of course, in those games, it's been announced already that sports like cricket and rugby, 7-a-side rugby, will be included. The flag bearer is Rashid Sedek, the badminton gold medal, who came from Auckland in 1990, and we'll see much more of them in the next 4 years, and they'll be host to those games, which will be the 16th Commonwealth Games.
And they've got the medal chances here very much in the badminton competition.
In the
opening ceremony of the 15th Commonwealth Games, and that's the team from Montserrat, a very small team, not many there, and only 2 of them. And I think we have, what, 1 man, 1 woman.
No, they're both, in fact, male athletes, Norman. And
they must be officials.
Yes, indeed. Along with the Maldives, they are the smallest competing countries.
Now, the last country to join the Commonwealth was Namibia, formerly Southwest Africa. There are 61 of them. There's quite a big team. Obviously, it's their first games. The standard bearer is Frankie Fredericks, a dual Olympic silver medalist and the world 200 metres champion. So he's a very talented athlete.
This is one of the world's newest states, as well as being the newest addition to the family here, because they gained their independence from South Africa the same year as the Auckland Games in 1990. And I should imagine there's been some great competitive scraps too to make the first team and set a little piece of history in these games. Elizabeth Mongudi, 23, she's a 3,000 metre runner, and she'll be competing here, and she carries the flag.
Now, Nauru from the Pacific Ocean, only 3 of them, 2 weightlifters and 1 athlete. And the flag bearer, Marcus Stevenson, a gold medalist from Auckland, and that is a remarkable performance, that a country that only sends 3 to the games can turn up with a gold medal.
Formidable achievement. They're quite a lonely sight down on the stadium at the moment. Marcus Steven, a weightlifter, who took that gold medal, carries the flag.
Now, the largest of the African countries, with something like 88 million people. They have a big team of 80, 62 men and 18 women. And here they have a flag bearer.
Nigeria.
They don't tell us who he is. Let's see if we can find that from somewhere else. We have... No,
he's going to remain.
He's incognito.
He's the one name that we were never given of all of the teams, this great country of Nigeria.
There's one name, though, Phil, that I think will be well and truly remembered from these games, Mary Onyali. 100 and 200 metres, she could be the favourite to win the gold medals there with the absence of Merlene Ottey. Of course, she'll be opposed to the Australians Kathy Freeman and Melinda Gainsford, but they have some great athletes in history and in the present.
They've got 2, in fact, who are inside 10 seconds for the 100 metres, Daniel Epiong and Olapade Edenikan, and that should give Linford Christie perhaps a sleepless night or 2 this week.
We're now about 2/3 of the way through the parade. Remember that the last country to enter the arena will be Canada. And again, we mentioned the athletes on wheelchairs who are taking part in these games for the first time. And now Norfolk Island, the smallest of all the Commonwealth countries, with a population of only about 2,300. 15 of them, 8 men, 7 women. Bill Adam, the bowler, is carrying the flag, a direct descendant of the Bounty crew members. And in fact, most of these teams have some association with Fletcher Christian, Captain Bligh, and maybe Errol Flynn.
I've seen all of those films, Tom. Well, apparently the lawn bowler Bill Adams is a direct descendant from the crew of the mutiny on the Bounty. He is the great-great-great-grandson of John Adams, who was the last of the HMS Bounty mutineers. And he carries the flag today. Carmen Anderson, a lawn bowler, double gold medalist in the Pacific Championships in both 91 and 93. She'd like to make it a Commonwealth Games gold this next week.
Northern Ireland, and I always feel a touch of sadness when the Northern Irish team comes in. They have their troubles over there. So we've seen the green of Norfolk Island and now the green of Northern Ireland. This is a big team, 92 of them, 71 men, 21 women. Standard bearer is a 1986 gold medalist in bowls, Margaret Johnston.
Yes, she also got a bronze medal in 1990, so she's here again to keep a medal tally up on the sideboard at home.
When they received their gold medals, and there's Margaret, they marched, or they have the London Derriere played at Danny Boy, and it is probably the saddest of all of the national anthems, and you'll hear each country has a specific anthem in these games. We hear Land of Hope and Glory for England, for example, Land of My Fathers for Wales, Advance Australia Fair, God Defend New Zealand, O Canada, and the national anthem of the Commonwealth, the Queen's national anthem, that's God Save the Queen, is only played at the ceremonies. The Queen is informal at every other part of the games when she goes to venues. So a big team, Northern Ireland.
I can remember the marvellous occasion in '86 when the cyclists won their first ever medal. A bronze it was in the team time trial. They'll be out again this weekend hoping to repeat or better that feat. They'll have a tough job.
I think their greatest ever athlete was Mary Peters. Remember the pentathlon of the old days, and converted to the heptathlon. But now Pakistan, another large country from the general Asian area. Not a big representation here, just a cricket team plus about 2 or 3 others. I can't see Imran Khan out there, or Waka Yunus, or any of those out there, but that they will be pretty good athletes.
Normally, it's not a country to pick a fight with because of their 44 medals. They've won 31 of them in wrestling. Samit Mir, the current manager of the boxing team, is the flag bearer. He won a bronze medal back in those very pleasant games in Edinburgh in 1970.
And now our northern neighbours in the spectacular uniform of Papua New Guinea, and really this is enormous. It's marvellous to see them here.
A beautiful, colourful nation. They are, in fact, 29 in total, 19 men and 10 women.
Didn't their flag bearer, Gia Tao, win the bowls in 1990? I think she did.
She did, and she's the current champion. And I'm sure she'll be quite a colourful character out there on the greens at one at the Fuji Stadium.
Scotland the Brave in their traditional blue uniforms, and aren't they getting a marvellous reception? We're just looking over here to see if we can see Canada. They're getting close to the time where they'll come into the arena, and I think they've made an entry over on the far side. Have they? No, not quite yet. That might be one of the larger teams. The Roar is going to lift the roof, if there was a roof, off this stadium.
So Bonnie, Scotland.
The blue of Scotland.
Games in 1970 and 1986. Yvonne Murray, silver medalist over 3,000 metres in Helsinki. She'll go for the 10,000 for the first time here.
I think the roar there, the welcome that you can hear, is for South Africa. That's what it would be. It's South Africa who come in. We'll meet them in just a minute or so. I suggest you don't go away from your television receiver, because this will be a wonderful occasion. So anyway, we'll stay with the teams on the straight. We're with Scotland. They have that great bowler, the women's worlds and triple fours champion, world champion, who's there, a shooter, Alistair Allen, 2 gold, 2 silver and 2 bronze in the Commonwealth Games. Is a fantastic record.
Yeah. Blues of Scotland.
It's not that cold out there, Phil, but I suppose in Scotland you have to wear a sweater any time, don't you?
Well, I was actually
that might be, I bet they're cashmere.
I'm sure they are. I was in Scotland just 6 days ago. Although the sun was shining, it was a little bit chilly up in Aberdeen.
Seychelles from the Indian Ocean. Seychelles with a very small team, only 9 of them, and again a very spectacular uniform.
These romantic islands, though, where I'd love to go in the Indian Ocean, 700 miles northeast of Madagascar, then on to Sierra Leone as well, which actually means the Line Mountains, situated off the west coast of Africa.
You noticed our information sheet, Phil. It says team uniform to be decided. Well, I'm glad they made a decision, because they could have gone around with nothing on.
Oh. Well,
now, Singapore.
Norman.
Singapore coming through now. And not long. I can tell you a couple of teams before South Africa will be appearing on television. 7 from Singapore, the flag by Hosni Mohammed, 4 men and 3 women.
Solomon Islands in Ceremonial.
The Solomon Islands, a team of 4, all boxers, and when did they arrive in Victoria, BC? 14 hours ago, last night.
Well, I'll tell you, they've got a little bit of catching up to do on the old jet lag. It takes 2 or 3 days. The boxer Joseph Semai is carrying the flag. He fights in the heavyweight division. I don't think we could argue with that. And he's the team's most experienced competitor as well.
Well, it's getting close now. The welcome on behalf of the people of the British Commonwealth of Nations, South Africa.
Joining the Commonwealth
Here it is.
South Africa.
And listen to this. South Africa, they last competed in 1958, 36 years ago. 36 years. And they're back, and what a wonderful occasion this is, with their team of 112, a big team. They mightn't be a great force in these games, and everybody's standing, and they're getting a standing ovation.
Flag bearer, just 20 years of age. She's done her best time at 800 metres of 1:45.32. What a very, very proud moment. The new flag of South Africa. Medal chances, well, you never know. Elena Meyer, 1992 Olympic 10,000 metres silver medalist, might go up a notch. We've got the Commonwealth pole vault record holder here, Ockert Brits. He's done 5.85 metres, and he's 21 in 5 days' time. A gold medal. He'd remember his 21st forever. And you know, if we look for a surprise, go for Willie Engelbrecht in the cycling road race.
Her Majesty the Queen looks on to the latest rejoiner of the Commonwealth, South Africa. In 1954 and 58, they finished third in the list of competing countries. They are very competitive. They may not be a great force in these games, but you see what they did in cricket, what they do in their return to rugby union. It won't be long before South Africa are right up there in the medal tally.
But despite the fact they've been away for an awful long time, they still rank high in the league table. Let's move on to Sri Lanka. Formerly Ceylon, of course, off the coast of India. It's been known as Sri Lanka now for 22 years. They've got a team of 13 men and 4 women. And their flag bearer is Colonel Laxman Ranjan Singh, a small bore rifle marksman, and also the captain of the team. I guess with all that, you've got to carry the flag.
Well, we've got a series of small teams now coming in, and they're going to be followed, and it's at Kitts first of all, they're going to be followed by the largest team of all, and that is Canada. 400 of them, 400 representing Canada, and they're going to enter the stadium on the far side behind this group of small teams. And you heard the roar for South Africa. I'll back Canada at even money to put the metre over the top.
Well, I think somehow you might be right, Norman. This is St. Kitts, the flag bearer, by the way, there we saw briefly was Bernice Morton. She's an athlete, and she'll take part in the 100 and 200 metres events. And she only started competing in athletics 3 years ago, so we wish her well.
St. Lucia, 11 athletes. As I said, this group of small teams, only a handful for the next 6 or 7 teams. We're still looking across to see this huge contingent of Canada, and it won't be long.
St. Lucia, one of the Windward Islands, their 4th Commonwealth Games, yet to win a medal.
The fellow on the right there looked like O.J. Simpson. Well, he couldn't be here, could he?
That's for certain, he couldn't. There's other things on his mind right now. So the stands away to our right, as the athletes walk towards them, are beginning to fill up. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 6 Commonwealth Games, and just 1 gold medalist in their history. The flag bearer here is Eswood Coombs, who is a 200-metre runner with a personal best of 20.9, and also in the 400 metres, he's done 46.35. Swaziland making its way slowly around to parade before Her Majesty the Queen, who is enjoying the spectacle. One of the events she holds very dear to her heart.
And that's looking back up the straight. You can see there's temporary seating here to fit in the crowd of 35,000, and there's nowhere to be seen in the public area where there's a vacant seat. We're down to the S's now, not long to go. Now in Swaziland, only 14 of them. And it's very interesting here. The standard bearer is a young man called Gary Hoare, and he is a swimmer. And isn't it good to see an African swimmer in the pool?
Superb. He'll compete, you should know more about this than me, Norman, in the 50-metre, 100-metre freestyle, as well as the 100-metre backstroke. And when you look at down these uniforms, Norman, I think if we're rather lucky, it's very pleasantly warm here today.
Yes, it's not that cold. It's probably around about now with the little bit of overcast, around about 18 or 20 degrees. But I'd say perfect conditions for an opening ceremony. And before this enthusiastic crowd, how did you feel cold?
Absolutely.
Tanzania, 6 only from there. African country, 6 only competitors, I mean. There are a few officials there as well.
And former star Mawaseli, a boxer who will fight in the light heavyweight division, 24 years of age, just 1 woman on the team. They've won 13 medals at the games, 9 of them coming in athletics. They're marvellous athletes, and 4 in boxing. Thunderbird, of course, is their most famous Commonwealth champion. Clocked in second off the world record when he won the 1500 metres in Christchurch, New Zealand, 20 years ago.
Only 10 from Tonga as far as competitors go. I once saw them beat Australia in rugby union, Phil. It doesn't happen very often these days, as we have told the New Zealanders quite often.
And reminded them again this week, I believe. bright red blazer. Very, very formal uniform, but extremely nice. They're actually the skirt overlaid there with a woven known as a tuavala.
That is the exact colour of their rugby uniform. In the straight, and the Queen. All smiles. Trinidad and Tobago, one of the good teams. 25 of them from the Caribbean.
Yep, that's right.
And a good runner here. He was fourth in Barcelona, I think. Phil, wasn't he? Ian Morris?
Yep. And Ian Morris he is. And let's not forget that one of the top medal cyclists will be the really nice guy, Gene Samuel. He's now 34 as cyclist. He was fourth in the Seoul Olympic Games back in 1988. He's a kilometre rider and a great character as well. They'll compete in 6 sports while they're here: athletics, badminton, boxing, as well as cycling, shooting, and of course swimming.
I'm counting round the arena, and behind Uganda I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. That takes us through down to Zambia, then the Zimbabwe, and they're followed by Canada. So there's only one more team to enter the arena, and then you're going to hear the roar to end all roars at Victoria, British Columbia.
And when you put 2 years of preparation into a game like this, the host country deserves the biggest cheer. Uganda here, the flag bearer is Fred Mutawaita, 24, bantamweight boxer, one of the 10 boxers carrying the flags today, the All-African champion in the year of the Auckland Games in 1990.
Vanuatu, Port Vila, of course, very great place to visit, a wonderful holiday area there.
We have the very small team of Vanuatu, just a 2-man team, 1 man, 1 woman, both of them athletes. Mary Estelle Kapulu, she's 28, she's carrying the flag. She'll compete in the 400 metres and the 400 metres.
Wales. And Wales, the largest of the teams late in the alphabetical order. And there's the roar starting for the Canadians. It won't be long now. And up there, the men of Harlech, on to glory.
Municipality. It's only 6 miles from where I come from. We built castles to keep the Welsh out in the old days, but now we welcome them in. Flag bearer is Kevin McCormack, the super heavyweight boxer. He's here in his 3rd consecutive games. He's a Royal Marine at HMS Nelson in Portsmouth.
A bit of showmanship here. They're holding up. Here's the Canadian flag is coming into the arena. The Canadian flag, I can see it from here. And oh, Canada!
And there it is. And the flag bearer is Angela Chalmers. And what a very special lady she is. She has a Scottish father and a Sioux mother. And she speaks 3 languages. Apart from the First Nations language, she also speaks fluently the 2 national languages here of Canada, French and English. Double Commonwealth Games, a gold medalist 4 years ago in the 1500 and the 3,000 metres. Olympic bronze medalist over 3,000 metres. She'll be striking gold again here.
This is the largest team of any in the games, just on 400 of them. 375 are marching today. There are 280 competitors. They're going through the sort of permanent grandstand here over on the far side now. We haven't seen, the team is pouring in, and still they come in. They've gone about 100 metres and still they come, and traditionally in the red and white of the maple leaf of Canada.
Well, we've seen, courtesy of Jacques Lemay, a marvellous opening ceremony so far. There's still a lot more of that to come, by the way, once the athletes have taken their seats here in the stands. And we're now seeing this superb team. They are filing into the stadium here, and they must be queuing right down the highway outside of the stadium still to come in. They're going to win gold medals in a lot of events, but I really feel that they have some big chances. Even although Bruni Surin, their 100-metre athlete, they thought at one stage he would be out of the hunt, but he's got over that knee injury. He's going to push, in fact, Olympic Christie all of the way.
Now back to Western Samoa, over on this side of the stadium. Quite a big team from Western Samoa. We've just had their rugby team in Australia. Australia, of course, scored a marvellous win, 73-3, and the captain said, I don't think the airline's going to fly us back home. But anyway, they've flown over the Commonwealth Games team here, and it's great to see them, and again, beautifully attired, aren't they?
Well, they are superb, and here we have again another boxer carrying their flag, Emilio Letti, 29. He won bronze in the last Commonwealth Games, and he's currently, by the way, the Oceania champion. Samoa guns blowing the shell there. Traditional music. And as we expected, traditional Samoans are leading their team here as they go through the stadium.
Now, after the Samoans, we have only 3 teams left on the arena, so we've seen 61 of the 64 teams. We have Zambia, Zimbabwe, and then, of course, Canada.
And here we are.
Zambia, a team of 25 of them.
17 men, 8 women. Traditional green blazers for Zambia. It's a beautiful country in Africa itself, basically very, very flat. Country where we expect medal chances are to come from Samuel Mateti, the world 400 meters hurdles champion in 1991, and in Stuttgart at the World Championships last year he took a silver medal, and he holds the Commonwealth Games record at 47.1 seconds. Now
Zimbabwe, of course, will be involved in Australia this year. They're coming for the cricket season along with England, and Australia, of course, playing 2 teams.
Oh, I think Tracy Cox-Smith might take the vote as the prettiest. She's 28 years of age, carrying the flag there. She won a silver medal in the women's 1-meter diving 4 years ago, and coached by her father, Jeff, who was also here with her in Victoria. 3rd Commonwealth Games for Zimbabwe, and overall they've netted just 4 medals.
Now the public have been asked to keep their main cheer for the official announcement of each team. And the next team to be announced will be Canada.
Le pays hôte des 15e Jeux du Commonwealth, and now the host country of the 15th Commonwealth Games, Canada.
Great salute to the athletes who have yet to compete. Great salute to the country who has now begun its Commonwealth Games, the 15th edition. 280 competitors, but over 400 on the team. They now fill a quarter of the athletics track here in the Centennial Stadium.
They've had quite a remarkable history in the Commonwealth Games, Canada. Of course, the first country in 1930 was Hamilton in Canada, but at one stage they fell right down to 1 gold medal. This was in around the 50s, and sport was not part of their education program in schools. It was then brought into the English schools and then later French-Canadian schools. And then by the time it got to 1978, they won a record 45 gold medals when the games were held in Edmonton. And since then, they've been one of the top 3 countries along with England and Australia. Now, what will this be? Will Victoria be another Edmonton? Will the Canadians surprise us with what they do? They don't seem to have the strength in swimming. I know they're going to be good in wrestling. I know they're going to be good in gymnastics. But when you have your own country, your own crowd in front of you, you always seem to do better.
Absolutely. And with Tonya Dubnikov, the young lady who surprised, only just started cycling and landed the World Sprint crown, she'll enjoy the velodrome here, I'm sure of that. But the Canadians have come here to enjoy themselves today, and I think they'll continue enjoying themselves until these games close.
Phil, I'm just standing up here looking over the balcony, and the welcome they're getting is absolutely amazing. The people are waving and yelling and stamping, and the Canadians are now occupying the whole length of the straight, and they're throwing, looks like frisbees up into the crowd. That's typical Canadian stuff. They do that quite often, and the crowd are really giving them a huge welcome. That has been a very good Commonwealth Games parade, Bill, a very good one.
Hi, Mum and Dad. Well, I'll tell you, this is the country which has the biggest landmass, but of course not the biggest population. Much of Canada is uninhabited. Many of the islands here are too. It is the most spectacular country to visit. And they're going to come out and they're going to do their very, very best. Chris Wilson, 26-year-old bronze medalist in the 68-kilogram division in the World Wrestling Championships last year. And he'll get his chance this time out in the Commonwealth Games as well.
Now, the Canadian team is moving down into the back straight, or on the far side there. They go into an area in front of the big scoreboard. All the other countries are there. And that area over there, by the way, filled with the different uniforms, looks very spectacular. With the countries all in there in their different colours. The Canadians now just the final group passing the Royal Dais. And still the Canadians waving up to this wildly enthusiastic crowd. And so the parade of of 64 countries, 64 competing teams, has come to its conclusion on this, the opening ceremony of the 15th Commonwealth Games in Victoria, British Columbia. And there's the Australian team just waiting over there for the next part of the parade. Of course, the Australians, they look great, and they'll be competing, as we mentioned, the absentees from the parade, all of the people who were in action on the first day, including your friend Kathy Watt.
Yes, and in fact all of the cyclists out tomorrow in the 100-kilometre team time trial for the men and the 50 kilometres for the women.
Of the 15th Commonwealth Games. Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue aux athlètes des 15e Jeux du Commonwealth. Nous allons maintenant hisser les drapeaux des nations. Please direct your attention to the south stand for the raising of the nation's flags.
Roll, right, third.
Thank you, Norman and Phil. Fantastic.
Oh, so emotional.
It is, isn't it?
It's wonderful.
Fabulous to be here. It's just marvellous. And there go the flags. There's the Canadian flag in the foreground. There's ours I can see there. And up they go. And there they will stay for the duration of the Commonwealth Games.
For centuries, Vancouver Island has been home of many nations, rich in culture, deeply rooted traditions, songs and dances. Les légendes amérindiennes sont l'expression d'une riche culture traditionnelle, transmise de génération en génération depuis des siècles. It is with great respect and honor that we present to you today, for the first time outside the traditional big house, the legend of Kawadalikola, the first man born of the wolf.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to see is a special, special occasion. Unique, in fact, beyond words. Chief Adam Dick and his Coast Salish people are about to take us into their most sacred ceremony. It's called the Big House.
There was a time on this great land when all was not separated. Long before the flood, long before the beginning of the world as we know it today, all the kingdoms spoke with one language and with one voice. The animal kingdom, the undersea kingdom, the elements and the creatures that flew the closest to the heavens. This world knew no boundaries, no limitations. Everything was alive. The trees, the plant life, the wind, the sun and the moon. Nothing was separated. All was one. Man and women were to come into a land where all was interconnected and interdependent of each other. In the great circle of this land, all hands stretched out between the worlds, the kingdoms, and the elements. All had a responsibility to this planet. It was a time of harmony, great humility, and the profound awareness of how each one's supernatural energy balanced the other. This was the foundation of the Kwakwaka'wakw people and culture of this territory. This was the land, the home and the house into which our ancestors were born. Each nation of this great land has their own truth, its own reality. This is the legend of the beginning of time. This is from the box of treasures inherited by Quaxis Chief Adam Dick, from the hundreds of Quaxis before him. This is our truth. We all have great gifts and ties to the sacred. This is what makes us brothers and sisters. We have different ways of celebrating, some more private, some more public. All are just as powerful.
Yes, never before has this been performed in public. The big house. Today it has an audience of some 500 million people. Commonwealth is just moments from a richness it could never, ever have suspected. The atmosphere is as it should be here. Honourably quiet, most definitely privileged.
And this is really just the beginning too, Tim, because as I mentioned earlier yesterday when we saw a rehearsal of this, we didn't realise how you can get caught up so much in the spirit of it and the emotion of it, and it evolves into a wonderful but emotional conclusion. Whether
Far atop the towering mountains at Guai, there roamed a great wolf named Gilalafi. Man was not yet born in this supernatural time before memory. This was the time when the animals dominated the planet and had the supernatural power of transformation. Gilalafi was a gigantic beast of nature that moved with great strength and agility. He emerged from the mountain. He moved in a cautious, steady foot past the glacier and by the river. His majestic stature appeared at the tree line above the valley floor. And from the body of the great wolf came forth a man who would be known through time as Kawadilekla. Next to come forth was Kwilili, the younger brother. The third supernatural gift was a woman. Her name was Haya Shilikas. Finally, the youngest brother, Nanolak, emerged. And so it came to pass that the first 4 human beings of the Kawadilekla people came from the great wolf Gilalafi.
We are becoming part.
The land was filled with beauty and wonder as far as the eyes could see. The 3 brothers and their sister stood in the great unknown land and wondered if others like them existed. Kawadilekla, the firstborn, turned to the south direction and howled a piercing, lonely cry. The only answer was the echo returning from the mountain. Time itself stood still as Kawadilekla awaited a response that did not come. He turned to the north and howled a haunting cry. The answer was a deafening silence. Kawadilekla turned to the east direction and gave a spine-tingling howl. as with the other two calls of the wild, he was met with an emptiness and a solitude that cut into his soul. Kawadilekla turned desperately to the west in a final howl that emerged from his very core. Suddenly, the vast expanse and solitude was shattered by a kindred wolf cry from an unknown distance to the west. The first 4 people that came forth from Gilalashi now knew others lived in a distant place that is known as Quetzino. In time, the brothers and their sisters wanted to explore their newfound territory. They began their journey in a sea-suit canoe. The canoe was made from a 2-headed serpent that was powered with supernatural energy. A sea-suit had the ability to travel on land and water. It could be either a positive or negative experience for those who encountered it. This supernatural creature was to become the main crest of Kawadilekla and was also to become the beam of his first house. The 4 siblings wandered from their homeland down the beautiful river in their sea-suit canoe. As they approached the river's mouth, they saw that it was teeming with silver creatures swimming upstream. A supernatural man suddenly appeared to the 3 brothers and their sister. The man asked, "Do you know what is swimming up your river?" They replied, "We do not know. We thought they might be worms." The man said to them, "This is what you are going to eat. They will be known to your people as hooligans. They will be one of your most important foods. You will not eat the small creatures that swim in your waters that are clothed with fur, nor will you eat the creatures who swim on land. You will eat the hoofed animals clothed in fur, but not those that have paws." Kawadilekla and his brothers and sister listened to the supernatural man as he instructed them on what they were to eat and what they were to leave to feed the other living creatures of the world. As the days passed, the brothers and their sister played with their supernatural powers to entertain themselves. They loved to play a game of toss and catch with a ball made from huila, a living crystal. When Kawadilekla lost the last game to his younger brother, in frustration, he hurled the huila to the mountainside. It landed on the bluff on the face of the mountain and left a large circle, the color and shape of the ball, for all to see. That mountain came to be known as Huitla'i. Kawadilekla then took his youngest brother, Nanulak, and pulled him apart, and with his supernatural powers, transformed him into eagle downs. He blew into the air that who once was his brother, and the down spread all over the world. Kawadilekla vibrated his hands as he chanted, "Hi, hi, hi, hi." Wherever you will land, you will be a different people, and you will speak a different language. And so it came to be that the down that was once Nanulak became the different people of the world. Kawadilekla then decided that they should continue their journey south down the river to see if others like them lived in this world. As the two brothers and their sister started downriver, the supernatural man appeared to Kawadilekla, and he asked him how the birds of the valley sing. He replied, Zawadzali, Zawadzali. The supernatural man decreed, from this day on, you will call the people of this valley Zawadenu. Kawadilekla told his sister, Hayatilakas, this is where you will be. It has all the power in the world. You will stay here and chase away all sickness for the generations to come. Kawadilekla told his sister to look after the valley so she wouldn't have to walk amongst the devil's club and hurt herself. Kawadilekla and his younger brother, Kulili, continued on their journey. They came to another river. The supernatural man called to Kulili and asked what song the birds sing at this river. Kulili replied, Hawalu. From this day on, the supernatural man commanded, the people will be known as Hawatmis. The eldest brother told Kulili, this will be your river. Look after it well. And so the youngest was left at Al-Akhu as the guardian of the river. This was to be the beginning of the Kawadilekla people, their homeland, and their legend. The Kawadilekla people passed through times of great joy, great sorrow, great feasts, great potlatses, great famine, and the great flood. Remnants of the legend were permanently cast on the mountains at Wai during the flood thousands of years ago. Proud reminders of the legend survive today in songs, dances, and crests as the people tell the history of Kawadilekla through the passage of time. The chieftainship of Kawadilekla that was handed down through the generations came to be known as Kwaksistala, which means the smoke of the big house fire reaches around the world. This big house symbolizes the first house of Kawadilekla, and it is said that all parts are alive. The house beams, the Sisiut posts, and the walls of women, who are the foundation of our culture.
We're now very privileged to be a part of a welcome unique to this part of the world, unique to these people, and we're back with more very soon.
We really have to thank for allowing us to learn and listen to the legend of Kawadilekla is about to be heard. Chief Adam Dick is about to invite us to witness.
In the words of Kwaksistala, Chief Adam Dick, greetings, greetings to all the nations, greetings to all the people of the world, that you have come to watch
the history of my people. This is my history. From the time the earth renewed itself, from one end of the earth to the other. You have now come to gather in this land. You are the descendants of the eagle down that Kawadilekla scattered around the world. You have all come. Thank you. We wish to thank the Coast Salish people for allowing us to come to their traditional land so that we could show this sacred story to the world. Haiska CM.
As it happens, many of the fellow elders of the Coast Salish had criticised the decision to hold this big house celebration and this open up a tradition to the Commonwealth of Nations.
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, le bâton de la reine a quitté le palais de Buckingham au mois de mars 1994 et depuis a fait le tour du monde. The Queen's baton left Buckingham Palace in March of 1994 and has journeyed around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, le bâton de la reine, the Queen's baton, carried by two-time gold medalist in Lillehammer, deux fois médaille d'or à Lillehammer, by athlete Miriam Bédard.
Well, as you'd expect, big cheer, and that was a secret until now. Nobody knew who was going to bring that baton in here.
Miriam Bédard, a biathlete, in fact, a double Olympic gold medalist, Tim. They've kept that a secret till the opening, just before the opening ceremony this afternoon.
This is an athlete of some standing, let me tell you. Her career highlights are just astounding.
In fact, she just won 2 gold medals at the 1994 Winter Olympics in Lillehammer in Norway. And the list of her participation and her successes goes on and on. But as far as the baton goes, it has been to Sydney, Australia. It's been to Nairobi. I think it covered 94,000 kilometres of the world, Tim. New Delhi, India, Kingston, Jamaica, all points in between. And now here it is in Centennial Stadium, Victoria, British Columbia, for the 15th Commonwealth Games, being delivered to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth.
And Annie, I have to tell you, rollerblading it around here is a whole lot easier than have to run around. Miriam's chosen a good way to get here.
Although I think Miriam probably would be able to do it easily.
No problem.
Being the athlete she is.
It's about to be delivered to the Queen's Equerry.
Earlier today, 40 runners, 30 escort runners carried the baton from the inner harbour. They were selected by lottery, in fact, from the community. You'd think you'd won the lottery, wouldn't you? And they joined a total of 1,100 people who too have carried it.
Her Majesty.
Prince Philip and I, together with your President, Prince Edward, are very glad to be present in Victoria for the opening of the 15th Commonwealth Games, the 4th to be held in Canada. Le Prince Philippe et moi, de même que votre Président, le Prince Édouard, sommes très heureux d'être à Victoria pour l'ouverture des 15e Jeux du Commonwealth, les 4e à se tenir au Canada. We look back with pride to the very first Games in Hamilton in 1930, and to the Games in Vancouver in 1954 and in Edmonton in 1978. Together, they demonstrate the immense contribution Canada has made to the success of the Commonwealth Games and the encouragement of friendliness and good sportsmanship for which they are renowned. We know that we can expect 10 days of high sporting achievement in the venues, the traditional comradeship of the Games village, and all the excitement and happiness that comes from the meeting of athletes from all parts of the Commonwealth. The preparation of these Games has been an immense task, and I would thank and congratulate all of those who have been involved throughout many years in making everything ready for this moment. I greatly look forward to my stay here and wish you all a successful and joyful Games. I hereby declare the 15th Commonwealth Games open.
Here we are back at Centennial Stadium, and we're back for Canada's Mosaic. We have the Dance of the Dolls. There are 8 dolls in this, representing the cultures of the world. 1 Indian, 1 Celtic, 1 Arabian, Maori, Ukrainian, African, Tibetan, and Caribbean. Each stands over 20 meters and is accompanied by a 96-member dance corps, and they represent a new world that the First Nations have come to know.
Yes, I hope you are getting the symbolism. All of these peoples now exist in the nation of Canada with the First Nations people, and the dolls represent them all. Now, since February, the local ethnic dance troupes have been rehearsing this performance, and it is stunning. A mix of rhythms and musical styles to highlight the cultural diversity of this truly beautiful place of Canada. The Dance of the Dolls, original composition by Vancouver composer Bob Buckley, and he's done a beautiful job. Let's just enjoy it for a few seconds and you'll see what we mean.
Interesting to note here that all of the music is original. The dances were choreographed specially, but it has been composed and is performed by British Columbians. People from both Victoria and Vancouver composed all the music for the opening ceremony, for the marches, for the dancing, for every part of this celebration. And you'll note also, when you see bigger pictures of the stadium, that we are now all inside the big house. The 4 corners of the big house have moved to the corners of the field, and we are within it.
The dolls have now been joined by a lot of other young Canadians in ethnic dress to just enhance the symbolism of what we're seeing here inside the big house of the First Nations people. big smiles on the faces of these young Canadians. This will be something to cherish forever.
Really shows how small the world is, Tim, when you see such a mix of cultures, a mix of people from all over the world who've come here.
Sure, this is one of the most friendly, laid-back places you could ever be. They're just great, the Canadians. They make everyone feel welcome. And it's such a beautiful place, you couldn't feel anything else but welcome. The Centennial Stadium from the air. That's where you're going to see, we're sure, some stunning performances, and I'm pretty sure some of them from Australians as well. But at the moment, you're seeing a truly stunning one from the young people of Canada.
I can assure you the designers and seamstresses in their thousands have been hard at work for some time here in Victoria.
Yes, and the director of all of this, Jacques Lemay, has done a marvellous job of bringing it to you on television, which was one of his prime objectives, and he's certainly done that.
I may stand corrected here, but I think we have an Australian connection too in this production. The sound engineer,
I think you're right, yes.
a man by the name of Greg Bowman, I understand, has had a lot to do with this as well. And the sound, it is a spectacle. It is magnificent.
All the magnificent colours, of course. This place is known as the Garden City of Canada, and all the colours are intertwined to represent that.
Now the crowd is clapping in unison. And here come the Petal children back onto the arena.
And the kids are back.
You can just see them in the background there on screen.
I bet there's some Canadian mums and dads in the audience with the tears streaming down their face.
Yes.
Their little ones out here. Magnificent.
Isn't that something?
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, accompagnés des officiers cadets du collège militaire Royal Roads, escorted by the officer cadets of Royal Roads Military College, welcome for the raising of the Commonwealth Games flag Miracle Mile runners in Vancouver's 1954 British Empire Games, les coureurs du Mille Miracles, Sir Roger Bannister and Mr. John Landy.
Well, I think it's only fitting that Mr. Commonwealth Games himself, Norman May, talks to you about this. Here they are, the two great miracle milers, Sir Roger Bannister and John Landy. Norman May.
Sir Roger Bannister on the left-hand side and John Landy met in nearby Vancouver in 1954 in what was known as the Mile of the Century. It's probably the most publicised single athletic event in sporting history. Newspapers, radio stations, no television in those days. There was in some parts of the country, but certainly not in Australia, some parts of the world. But for 6 months before this one event, there was nothing else to talk about this great mile race. The 4 minutes was regarded as a human barrier.
Mayor of Victoria will now pass the Commonwealth Games flag to the chairman of the Federation, Armand Deosales. Mesdames et messieurs, le maire de Victoria, M. Bob Cross, remettra maintenant le drapeau au directeur de la Fédération, Armand Deosales.
Just a couple of weeks, over 40 years ago, those games took place. Handing over the flag to the captain of the squad of 8 cadets. And it's quite fascinating now to just watch the precision of these 8 cadets as they unfurl the flag. Ceremonial flag. It all began 64 years ago in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada in 1930. In 1931, the Commonwealth was formed with only a handful of countries. In 1934, the second games were held in London, England. Then to the other side of the world, 4 years later, to Sydney, Australia in 1938. A gap of 12 years caused by the Second World War, and the games were resumed in Auckland in 1950. And then in 1954, the 5th Commonwealth Games, featuring the 2 men you see in front of you now. On the left, Sir Roger Bannister. On the right, John Landy. Sir Roger Bannister from England, John Landy from Australia. It was a marvellous race. The whole world waited for the result. The 2 men, and here they are running. There's Bandry at the top of the straight.
Definitely. He's passing Landy. Landy looks the wrong way.
So Roger Bannister goes in to win the Mile of the Century. Both men, for the first time in international competition, breaking 4 minutes from the mile. From then on, we went to Cardiff in Wales in 1958, to Perth in Australia in 1962, to the Caribbean, to Kingston in Jamaica 66, 1970 to Edinburgh in Scotland, 1974 to Christchurch in New Zealand, back to Canada in 1978 to Edmonton, in 1982, one of the greatest games ever held in Brisbane, Australia. In 1986, Edinburgh in Scotland for the second time, and in 1990, Auckland, New Zealand, also for the second time. And now for the 4th time in Canada, where the first games were held 64 years back in 1930, we come to the 15th Commonwealth Games in Victoria, British Columbia.
In 1, 2, I'll fix the flag.
Thank you, Norman. Nobody but nobody can do that like Norman. The man has the history of the Commonwealth Games, I'm sure, embedded in his mind forever. And it's great to have him here. Great to have those two here too, John Landy and Sir Roger Bannister. I was only 3 years of age at the time, but it's been legend ever since. My dad used to tell me, there they are, two of the greatest athletes of all time, as they watch the Commonwealth Games flag rise to the top of its flagpole, and of course there it too will stay while the games are on.
Games. And it's spine-chilling. It reverberates across this city, the cannon.
We're getting a slight delay here. We're watching the cannon go off on television and hearing the boom behind our ear.
They did have one for practice yesterday, and I'm sure it put about 10 years on my lifetime.
Gunnery boys are having a fabulous time out in the field behind us.
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, voici maintenant la lecture du serment des athlètes. The reading of the athlete's oath by Canadians Chris Wilson, wrestling, lutte, and Guylaine Cloutier, swimming, natation.
They will recite this oath of the athletes once in French and once in English. Guylaine, the swimmer, will recite it in French and Chris in English, as he said. The on-course announcer, Guylaine Cloutier, is a swimmer, and Chris Wilson, a wrestler. And they'll be shaping up to take on our Aussies and try and beat them at their
We
game.
declare that we will take part in the Commonwealth Games of 1994 in the spirit of true sportsmanship, recognizing the rules which govern them and desirous of participating in them for the honor of our Commonwealth and the glory of sport.
Nous déclarons que nous prendrons part aux Jeux du Commonwealth de 1994 dans un véritable esprit sportif, respectant les règlements qui les régissent et désireux de participer à ces Jeux pour l'honneur du Commonwealth et pour la gloire du sport.
Ladies and gentlemen at home, all we can ask you to do now is listen to the words of this song. And if it gets you the same way it gets us, then they'll have achieved what they set out to achieve. But it is truly beautiful. You just have a listen.
Before we begin the grand finale of the 15th Commonwealth Games opening ceremony, we'd like to wish all participants every success at these, the friendly games. Mesdames et messieurs, avant de procéder à la grande finale de la cérémonie d'ouverture des 15e Jeux du Commonwealth, nous aimerions souhaiter à tous les participants des Jeux remplis de succès, toujours plus haut. May their spirit take flight. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Saffron Henderson and Victoria's own international opera star Richard Margerson with the Commonwealth Games Choir.
There are some famous faces you just saw on screen there.
Mel Gainsford looking on there, I saw.
Little Becky Brown.
Becky Brown, yes.
Fleming.
Have a listen to this.
Together saw me alive in the world. May you lift in the wind on the wings of your dreams as you race to the light. Let your spirit take flight, take flight. A warm hand, a kind word, a voice that keeps urging you onward to victory, to heartbreak, to a hope you can't hold any longer. Au fond de ton être, prenez le courage, the courage to take the race to the end, till the end. Let your spirit take flight, let your heart show the way, and your soul be alive in the world. May you lift in the wind on the wings of your dreams as you race to the light. Let your spirit take flight. Let your spirit take flight. Let your heart show the way, and your soul be alive in the world. May you lift in the wind on the wings of your dreams as you race to the light. Let your spirit take
The symbol of peace, the dove.
And the other one is the Thunderbird.
Watch this.
The First Nations.
How it transforms.
Quite brilliant.
Marjorie, yes.
Go, Marjorie. Look at that. That's the Thunderbird,
There
symbol
you
of the
are.
First Nations people. It's a protector, the Thunderbird.
We all enjoyed it as much as they did, I'm sure.
1,200 choir members. In case you're wondering, the two singers were Saffron Henderson, who's a contemporary vocalist, comes from Vancouver, and Richard Margeson, internationally acclaimed opera singer, and he comes from right here, Victoria, British Columbia.
And as we mentioned earlier, the songs and the music have been composed. The words have been written here in Victoria or Vancouver, in British Columbia.
1,000 white umbrellas, 2,500 metres of coloured fabric. It looks great.
Ah, the stadium is buzzing. This is fantastic. Let your spirit take flight. Let your heart show the way. and your soul be a light in the world.
Message to the athletes.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
That's absolutely. It's a message to them, a message to us, a welcome to us, and welcome to all of you back home in Australia.
And for the athletes, may they lift in the wind on the wings of your dreams.
Especially ours. Go the Aussies. Tell you, it's just a fantastic scene here. Her Majesty the Queen.
We're awaiting, in fact, her departure from this.
To leave.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the exit of His Royal Highness the Prince Edward, His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, and Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Veuillez vous tenir debout pour la sortie de Son Altesse Royale le Prince Edward, Son Altesse Royale le Duc d'Édimbourg et de Sa Majesté la Reine Elisabeth.
Leaving. What a happy scene this is.
Indeed.
Isn't it wonderful?
The sun setting over the mountains behind us.
It's a bit hard to hold back the tears, actually, Tim.
It is a bit, yes.
Even the front of that car looks vaguely like a Thunderbird.
That Buick is one of the most beautiful things I've seen for a long time. McLaughlin Buick. I know it's a cliche, but they don't make cars like that anymore, like they used to. Look at that magnificent thing.
The Queen has had a wonderful day,
I'm sure she has, yes.
She's often closing Commonwealth Games. She, in fact, does that traditionally, so it's fantastic to have her here for the opening ceremony.
I was about to say, you don't often see a great big smile on her face like that. I mean, she's obviously had a great day, but we all have, and we hope you have at home too. And just reminding you that if you've got friends and relatives, let them know we're going to replay this for you tonight on Channel 10 right around the country. For those who are at work and haven't been able to see it live, which is the way we're doing it for you now, just remind them all that there'll be a replay tonight.
Please remain standing for the exit of our dignitaries and special guests and the athletes of the 15th Commonwealth Games. Veuillez demeurer debout pour la sortie de nos dignitaires, invités spéciaux et athlètes des 15e Jeux du Commonwealth.
We await as other dignitaries leave the platform, including the Prime Minister, Mr. Jean Chrétien, and other Commonwealth leaders.
Canadian Forces parachute team, the parachute team from the Canadian, the Skyhawks.
I wonder if we'll have Skyhawk cam.
I think we probably will, but we don't know what's going to happen here, you see, because during the rehearsal, these boys missed the arena by a long stretch. Well, we don't think they're expected to land on it. There's too many people. But they look pretty good. Just the same.
Here we are. Here we are.
It seems in these days, Annie, you just can't have a ceremony without parachutists.
I think that's a picture of everybody in the stadium right now.
Yep.
Eyes,
Here they come.
Eyes up.
How's that for a formation?
Oh.
Well done, boys.
And a photo. Well done.
Aussies are impressed.
Got that. Ooh, look at these.
can see them because I can't. Just look at all those wonderful faces.
Oh, fascination. Look at
here
this.
in Canada today.
There's a bit of a breeze in the stadium, so I imagine it's quite breezy about 2,000, 3,000 feet up.
Man with the cameras found them, but we certainly can't, and everyone's
they're
looking
right above
skyward
our
looking
heads
for
here,
them. I
Tim.
think they're above our heads, above the top of the stadium roof. Oh, here they come. I've got them now. Well, in a great many ways, the First Nations people are our hosts here, and they're making their way around the stadium now. Then gradually everybody will leave this stadium that's taken part in the opening ceremony, and then we
Feeling
turn
all
it
the
over
better
to the
for it.
athletes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I think we were right. They're just intended to drift over, not land in the middle of the Thunderbird. But then again, you never know.
Now exiting the stadium. One is New Gentlemen and Gold Second Station.
Oh, very spectacular.
Fantastic.
Very good. The Flying Skyhawks.
These boys are clever.
They're good, Tim. Ah, they've landed across the road from the stadium. I think probably a few too many people in the centre.
Yes, there they are, just over to our right. Northern end of the stadium.
There you are in the shadows of the Commonwealth Games Centennial Stadium. They sail in
Athletes
for
now
a
on their way
pinpoint
out.
landing.
Well done, boys.
From where we are, we can see them. They're giving a victory salute. They're waving their hands in the air. I think
can
they're
have
so
it all by
pleased that they made it.
themselves.
Yeah.
Cameras haven't picked it up yet, but our athletes are starting to file out of the stadium now. And a few thousand of them to get out of here too. The marvellous faces of these people all had just the best day.
Haven't they?
And they should feel very proud of
Ladies
themselves.
and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Please take your time exiting the stadium. If you require directions or assistance, please consult an usher.
Okay, the announcers asked everybody to go back to their cars. What I'll do is go back to Bill Woods at the International Broadcast Centre. Billy, that's a pretty hard act to follow, but we understand too there's been some dramas, and I caught up with this just before I left with the Australian team on the eve of competition.
Yes, Tim, before I do, I'd just like to thank you and thank Victoria for a very meaningful presentation of this opening ceremony. The news is from here that West Australian sprinter Dean Capobianco has broken down at the nearby Games Village. He injured a leg, in fact, collapsed in tears into the arms of his parents. He is trying to get back on track for his events, the sprints, of course. We'll have the full story in our news.
Okay, that's disappointing news. We hope he can get something together out of all of that, salvage something. Okay, we know we're running very late, but we better take a break. It's almost news time.